So the green Meanie saga continues. That motherboard there, there's nothing wrong with it. It worked fine, but it was a little bit. Once I had it built, and it only had 3 SATA ports there, and I've got all the available space for expansion here. In addition, it only had 1 NVMe slot, so this was on sale. Let's do it that way. This was on sale, going at silly money on AliExpress, and it offers more expansion, 2 NVMe's, 6 SATA slots, and I figured, well, and it was green and black, right, as well. So within the bounds there, I decided to grab it, and we will look to make the green Meanie even meaner. So we'll expand that. The motherboard also has full VRM. It has full VRM cooling on there as well, which on these Chinese motherboards tends to be a bit of an issue. So I'll be able to put in hotter Xeons if I want. I'm only going to carry on with the current Xeon, but the whole range of version 3 E5s and version 4 E5 Xeons is available, and they're pretty cheap. So even the more expensive ones, which are like I think last time I looked, about £22 for the top end stuff, over time that's going to fall down. They're not what they were in terms of performance, so they will get cheaper. And yeah, I think a bigger motherboard with more capability suits this large case. It could take 2 graphic cards. It will just do more than. It's still a budget board. There's no arguing that. It's a Machinist X99 RM9A Pro. The Pro is, they add things like this, but it's still a budget board. And we're gonna swap that board out there. Take the heatsink off, swap the memory, swap the graphic card, and swap the CPU. And we'll fit it, and then we'll take it from there. We'll spin it up and see how we do. Alright, so here we are. The board is in. I've migrated over the memory, the CPU, and cabling and whatnot. I've just got to do the main power, 24 pin there, and the headers, which are always a bit fiddly. But we'll do those and fit the graphic card. We fitted the extra NVMe in here. I've got more, I haven't utilised it, but I have more SATA here if I want to use more SATA to go with the drive bays. And yeah, let's get it done. Okay, so system's in. It's all wired up, and we're set for the boot test. So we'll give that a go and then see how it goes. I am sick as a dog while I've been doing this, so I really just want it to work at the moment. But let's fire it up in a moment and see how it goes. We'll see what's what. Okay, power's in and we're all set to go. Let's turn the screen on. Which side is that? I think it's that there. Okay, we've got a green light on the screen, and then we hit the power. Ooh, we got lights. We got lights. I haven't pre-tested this, so I want to hit delete on the keyboard if it comes up. Oh, we're looking promising. And we are in. Nice. 32 gig of RAM. Let's have a look at this BIOS a little bit. I haven't made any changes or anything on this, so all right, that's good. Okay, I'll have an initial tweak with it, and then we'll see. Okay, so we have a good outcome. Everything is running. I'm going to go in and wipe the new SSD. It's got some stuff on there that I'll sort out. And sadly, there is one bit of sad news. The lighting strip that I had in there seems to have died. So, and that made me happy having those lights in there. But anyway, there are still some lights in the system. It's still RGB. It's got a green light on the front. For now, that'll have to suffice. I'll see if I can get the lights working again, but it's no biggie. It's still lit on the system. There's a new on the motherboard. It's got a basically it's got a count up when it's booting, but because machinists are not great on support, even if you get a bad code, I don't know whether you're going to be able to track down that bad code on boot and find out what it is. But yeah, it's an upgraded board, so we will see. And so far it's all booting, working well, yada yada. All right, so state of play. The new motherboard is in. Quad channel memory, more storage, more I/O available on the unit, higher spec unit. I unfortunately lost the light. The inner case lights failed. I don't know why that was, but they only cost £3 or something, so I guess, hey, I'll get something else. It still has RGB lighting on the internals from the front fan and from the CPU fan on this unit. And where to go with this? So I can look for processor upgrades. There's lots of options on the Xeons, but I think the next thing that I'm going to look for is it currently has a 1050 Ti in there. I did have an RX 580, but it looks like that RX 580 is faulty. So I've put the 1050 in for now, and the aim will be to find something with a bit more oomph in terms of graphics. So I'm thinking something like a 970, a 980, a Titan. It's just going to depend what I can find to chuck in the system. The CPU is only, it's going to be how should we call this, like mid-range CPU at best. So there's no point in chucking in massive graphic power to it. But it could certainly use something with a bit more oomph than a 1050 Ti. So that's the next thing. I think if I could find a nice Titan to go in here, that would really round out a nice Nvidia case and system. Yeah, it's old and not the latest and greatest, but it would be a themed system. So it would make for a nice theme. And that's kind of where I'm thinking of going with this. Let's get a Titan in there, and then it would be good enough to run everything. You just run some of the later stuff on lower settings, and certainly 10 cores, 20 threads, 32 gig of RAM means that any form of labbing, well, I say any form, any mid to low range home labbing and stuff would be fantastic on here. High-end stuff now with AI is a whole different ball game, but you're not going to do that in the budget realm. So systems put back together, quad channel memory. It's a better system now with this motherboard in there. It's more well-rounded, more suited to the case with expanded I/O and so on. So that's where we are for now. Thanks. Okay, so here we have the system. We've got some info up on this, and let's pick an older Ryzen, so first gen Ryzen, somewhere in here. 6 core, 12 thread. Let's do the bench. And while it's benching, let's pull up Task Manager and we'll see performance. So each of the CPUs should be pinned. So it beats the 1600 Ryzen on multi-core and it's a bit behind on single-threaded. So the GTX 1050 Ti is pretty low-end graphics for gaming. It would get you by, but it's not gonna change the world. So we have the processor here, 85 watts. It's a 2630 V4. Its boost clock on a single core goes up to 3100, which is not super high in terms of gaming or whatever, and could do with more there, but that's fine. Motherboard details, it's got quad channel and the graphic card there. Running 10 CPU cores here, not showing the hyper-threading threads, but that's fine. And on sensors, I don't always trust Chinese motherboard sensors, but let's have a look. CPU temperature is pretty low. CPU package temperatures. I think if we do the bench, let's have a look if we get a climb in temperature on that. So we ran it at 37 degrees, which is, to be honest with you, I'm very happy with that. That's really, for an 85 watt chip, I was expecting that budget cooler to struggle a bit. And it still might if you were to like ram it to the stops for an hour or something. But there's no area where I think that's going to happen for the use case. And gaming typically, for example, doesn't usually max out everything all the time. So pretty happy with that. Against different systems, let's say, so fourth gen was roughly similar in age and specification on this. If we bench that, so top of the line desktop Intel processor, fourth gen K model. It's getting hammered on multi-thread, but it does win handily on single-threaded. Let's see what we'd need to push to if we want to get level on. How about that? Fifth gen 5960, very similar. That's 8 cores, 16 threads, bit higher single clock speed. 8th gen 6 core, 12 thread. So 6 core, 12 thread, top of the line. 8th gen Intel just overtakes on multi-thread. It's pretty handily ahead on single threaded. 1700 Ryzen, which is 8 core, 16 thread, just pulls ahead on multi-core, and it's a little bit ahead on single core as well. So we could say that this chip, which is one of the lower, it is one of the lower E35, sorry, E5 26 models. Um, let's pull that up while we're here. Let's go grab that. We'll have a look here what we could expand the system to. So here's the family of processors, and um, what you're looking for is number of cores, wattage, base frequency, and max turbo. So we're limited to 3.1 gig on this chip, and let's say we were interested in gaming, we'd be looking to try and get more max turbo. But with high wattage, you need more cooling, so you're trading off on these various areas. Let's go down here. So these 1600s tend to use a lot of juice, but they would be good for gaming to some degree. Let's see. Let's find one that would be cheap value. So a 2643, 6 cores, that's going to be 12 threads, and the base clock is 3.4 as well. So that's pretty high base clock speed, but it's going to use more juice. I'd say that's a good candidate. Let's open that on a new tab. Um, this would be a good candidate. These would be candidates, but they're going to get more expensive with more cores. So all of these would be more expensive. Let's go and have a look at the ones we had a quick peek at. So um, 6 core, 12 thread, 3.7 gig. Um, let's have a look on AliExpress for that. Let's see what the price would be. Okay, let's have a look. So these look to be still £15, £13, 24, 22, £18. So that probably rules out in terms of super budget. What was the other one we looked at? There was the E5 2667. So they're still charging a little bit of a premium for these, which I can understand because they're the higher clock speed stuff. Um, they're eventually going to drop, but for example, let's try and pick one that's a bit more mid-range on the family. Let's try and get something. Uh, it's going to be expensive. Let's try and get. Let's have a look here at. So we'll go a little bit lower. The 2640. How about that? 2640 version 4. £5, £8, £7, £5 68. So these are getting down to the price where they're affordable. So, and the system would get a fairly significant bump from that. Base clock is the same, but max turbo is 3.4, same 10 cores, 20 threads, slightly higher wattage at 90. But for gaming, this would get you 300 megahertz more speed than the one we're using. Would it make a world of difference? A little. It'll make a little bit of difference. Ideally, it would be nice to get 3.6 or 3.8, and I ran a 3570K which topped out at boost at 3.8 if I remember right. And I used it as my main rig for a long time. So, um, and I think really there are games that are very dependent on high single core clock speed, but I actually think that the 3570K is either a 4-core 8-thread or a 4-core 4-thread chip. And I think part of why I swapped that out, it just ran out of, when stuff got more multi-threaded, it just ran out of threads as well. So anyway, it's you tune your settings to suit, and I think that this is still very usable for being El Cheapo budget stuff. So for now, we're on the processor we're on. I've got a few others I can chuck in if I want to fool around, um, and that's where we're at. I'm very happy with that right now. That's pretty good stuff. Um, we'll leave it there for now.